Hello, everyone. Thank you so much to the host and the TEDx team for inviting me today. It really means a lot to stand here in front of these beautiful young souls, and it's really lovely to meet all of these staffs and faculty members in the Newton International School. My name is Minkyung Kang. I'm from South Korea and born and raised in South Korea until I moved to Qatar 12 years ago. Before I share my story for the next 10 minutes, I just got curious if anybody heard of me or my company called Pita Beauty, if anybody. Yes, yeah. Nice to meet you all. It's my first time to engage with very young students. That's why I was just curious. So I have 10 minutes to share a story about a random Korean girl who grew up in a small town in South Korea. And she isn't coming from a privileged background. So I thought this story might be entertaining and motivational to you guys, and I hope you enjoy it. So the title for today is If There's No Way, Pave Your Way. I will start off with my teenage life in South Korea, where I was an ordinary girl who was just attending public school. I couldn't actually attend any international school because this is considered as such a privileged school in South Korea. So in Korea, most of the common people like me would just go to public schools, and you wouldn't be actually get to learn how to speak English until you proceed like a certain different way. So in my middle school, I guess, the middle school and high school is something that you might resonate. So I decided to start off from my teenage life. In middle school, I had some tragedies, which was very difficult to cope with back in the days. For instance, my best friend passed away in front of me from a car accident where I somehow survived. And unfortunately, she passed away. And at the age of 14, I really couldn't accept why this is happening to me. And I found everything is so unfair around me. And especially at the same time, my parents were going through like a huge financial difficulty due to the failure of the business. So our family business got into the fraud, and people basically stole our parents' money and ran away to China, so and so. And on top of that, my parents are going through divorce due to these difficulties. So when I look back my teenage life, it was such a mess and it was extremely depressing. And I was very cynical and depressing person that nobody thought I would ever have any future in the future. So basically, I was told that I will end up working for, like some sort of grocery store as a cashier, or I might get lucky to be a masseuse, the person who gives a massage. So this was a type of reputation I had at age of 15 because I got into hanging out with wrong crowd, doing haram stuff. um, you know, like, yeah, it was really bad. But then eventually there was a moment in my last year in middle school where my mom became a single mom to raise me by herself, and I'm the only child. I didn't have any brothers or sisters. And when I saw my mom struggling so much and wanted to end her life with me, I think that was the very awakening moment for me that I should get my shit together and I should step up and try to change something since I'm still a young girl. So this is how it all started, and I wasn't sure what I should be doing as I haven't touched a textbook, I haven't grabbed a pen for like at least 2 years, busy hanging out with kids who ride motorcycles or smoke. Don't do that. So I was forced to transfer to another public school in a smaller town in my last year in middle school, and that's how it all began. So I entered the high school obviously with a full of problematic kids who were stealing cars, who get into the police stations all the time, or even often go to the juvenile jail. And that was the surrounding I was in. And even the teachers back in my high school wouldn't really care about our education. So basically, it was just a full of all crappy people, including teachers and students and myself. But I wanted to test out you know what, I'm still 15 years old and 16 years old. Maybe there is something I can change in my life. Because, that was the time where I felt so bad for my friend who passed away a couple years back. And it's really not fair that she had to pass away at such a young age. Like, I should take the responsibility of her life, and I need to live for two souls, me and her soul. So this is where I started to change my mind and also to support my mother. I thought maybe I can help her by getting scholarship so that at least she doesn't bear the tuition. So this is where I decided to study, but because I haven't studied for good 2 to 3 years in middle school, when my classmates were learning calculus, I couldn't go ahead with the calculus. I had to catch up entire algebra worth of the 2 years. So while learning calculus, I was catching up entire middle school, mathematics, and somehow I was able to be on the top of the class since our high school was really horrible and nobody was studying. And I think that really, really gave me the confidence. Out of 450 students, apparently I was top 5. And I couldn't believe that because I was always like bottom 5. So that really gave me a little bit of confidence, gave me the hope. Oh, I thought I am a failure who will end up working for McDonald's or like Starbucks as a cashier. But the fact that I was told by my class teacher that I will get a scholarship for this semester in high school, I really got excited. And my mother, she basically rewarded me the entire scholarship as my pocket money, which was a great deal. I was like, oh wow, I studied hard, and then now not only I'm a top student, I'm also getting a lot of money. I can buy cosmetics, I can buy outfits. So it's a great business. So this is how I really got into the education. So after 3 years of working hard, during my high school in Korea, I had zero friend, and all of my classmates were bullying me indirectly because I was the only student who was actually studying until like 11 p.m. And nobody would really care in this high school, unlike other high schools in Korea. So I had a lot of depression and anxiety. I think I was on medication for a good 2 years throughout the high school, especially as a teenager. You need certain social circle, but I was an outcast, an outlier. But I didn't care. I had a goal to get into the national university near my town, which is one of the top 10 in South Korea. So I didn't care whether they treat me like a ghost or ignore me or steal my textbook or throw their toothpaste on my desk. I didn't care. I just kept going for good 3 years. And those 3 years, I don't even remember seeing the blue sky because I would leave my home at 5 in the morning before the sunrise, and then I would come home around midnight after sunset. So I studied very hard. And eventually it paid off. I was able to get accepted to my dream university, which was Busan National University, because I'm from Busan, if you know Korea. And I was lucky enough to get early acceptance before the national exam date in South Korea. And I was lucky to receive the full scholarship in microbiology. So this is how my first turning point happened in my life. And I was very excited to start my new chapter that as an age of 18, who overcame small little struggles and finally got into the national university with scholarship, I thought maybe I can do something in life. So I entered the university with a scholarship, but because I was a problematic kid back then, I entered the uni with the high heels, long hair, leather jacket, ripped jeans. So all my classmates at same age of the 18, they were like bowing at me as if I'm a senior, and I was the youngest kid actually. So somehow, due to my characters, I was able to be appointed as a student representative for microbiology program for my class, and I was representing 80 people in this program. And also, I somehow became a student ambassador representing 20,000 students in the campus. The campus was pretty huge because it's a national university. And then I realized that, wow, somebody that was such a failure could do all of this, top 10 university in Korea, and I really wanted to inspire my fellow students. you know. So in my first summer vacation, so in Korean university, it doesn't go by fall, spring. It goes by spring, fall semester. So after my first spring semester, when I had 3 months of summer vacation, I felt like I really want to explore the world. I couldn't speak English. I couldn't speak any other language except Korean. But I thought of, romanticizing this backpacking as a young adult, just like any other Korean university students, because, in teenage life, you're not supposed to have life in Korea. You only study. And when you enter the university, that's where the party begins. So since I got the full scholarship and my mother rewarded me again, this whole scholarship is yours. You earned it. So, ta-da, the fund was ready for my backpacking. But where would I choose for the destination? So I was thinking, where should I go? My friends are going to London, Paris, New York, Tokyo, but I felt like I want to go somewhere different. So I thought of Spain because when I thought about Spain, it comes across with a red color, passion. I thought it's something very interesting for a young adult like me. So I decided to travel to Spain. There was a photo of me when I visited Granada, which is a city located in Andalusia region in the southern Spain, which was highly influenced by Islamic culture back in 6th century onwards. And it was my first experience to interact with something Islamic because in South Korea, we don't have many Muslims. We're not really familiar. We barely have 2 mosques for foreigners. And growing up, when I was age of 9, there was a 9/11 terror attack in the US. So as a South Korean, we're like politically, we are pro-US, but I don't have any understanding back in that young age. But I just had some sort of like a bad prejudice as a kid because that's all I saw from the media, right? So when I actually visited the Alhambra Palace, I was really surprised how detailed and beautiful the architecture was. Even though I was a biology student, I could sense the beauty and art of work. So I was telling myself, "Oh, Minkyung, you're 18. Now you should like judge by yourself from your own experiences instead of focusing on what media is telling me." So you know what? Now I gain more confidence as a solo tourist, as a backpacker in Spain. I'm going to travel to the Arab world. Like, I don't know. Like, I know Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. I didn't know about Qatar. I didn't know about Lebanon. So thanks to this beauty of the Alhambra Palace, I already made a decision when I'm not sure when I'm gonna travel to the Arab country, but for the next destination, 100% it'll be out of country. So this is how it went in 2010. So after 6 months, I finished fall semester and then the winter vacation came. So I was still by end of my freshman year and it was January 2011. I was 18 and a half. I decided to travel to Egypt. My plan was to be in Egypt for 6 weeks. And I didn't have any plan because one time I asked one of my friends in Busan who was learning Arabic language as a major. So I told him, listen, I'm going to travel to Egypt. Yani, you study Arabic language, you know better of Arab people and culture than me. What do you advise? I mean, you don't have to plan, just say inshallah because nothing is gonna go the way you plan. I didn't quite get it because I never traveled outside of like specific countries like Canada, UK, Australia. So I couldn't quite get what does he mean by inshallah, but now I got it. You will see. So I traveled to Egypt, and out of 6 weeks, my first week was spent in Cairo, like 5 days in Cairo. Obviously, I went to see the pyramid. It was amazing, and I was wearing a jumper from my university because I was a student ambassador. Content. And then I also went to a desert called Siwa, which is in the far west near Sahara Desert. It's like maybe 13 hours bus ride and it's a desert. So I had to make sure that I get 3 same hamburgers from Hardee's because there's no bus stop that you can buy food or go to a bathroom. So I went to the Siwa Desert here. I was considered as a local there. after just spending 2 days. And it was a beautiful place. And then I was back to Cairo to have my favorite kushari with the extra sauce and extra onions. So I had a wonderful trip in Egypt. And the funny thing is that the day that I came back from the Siwa Desert after 16 hours bus ride back in Cairo, the bus station was behind the Tahrir Square in Cairo. But the bus driver didn't stop me at the Tahrir Square. But I cannot speak English nor Arabic. I don't know. Anyways, he dropped me off on Friday morning, which is the day of Arab Spring. I think you guys are like 5 years old, so you might not be familiar. But those who know, in January, I think it was 25th Friday in Egypt, there was the beginning of the revolution that started from the Tunisia, and then after some days, it moved to the Egypt against the government. So I'm 18 years old who is solo traveling, who cannot speak English nor Arabic. And the moment I got out of the bus, one Egyptian lady comes to me and asks me, "Do you speak English?" So I said, no, me Korea. And then she was like, "Oh my God, this is the first day of revolution. It's dangerous. You need to be safe, blah, blah, blah." I couldn't understand anything. It's just based on my assumption, but I understood dangerous. I think I learned that somewhere in middle school. So I walked back to where I was staying. I wasn't staying in a hotel. I was staying in a Korean guest house where Korean people come for the business trip and they stay together, and for me it was convenient due to the language barrier. And during these times, there was no internet, no connection, cut off for 5 good days. And apparently, I got to know that I was considered dead in Korea, in my community, because they couldn't get in touch with me for 5 good days. But on the contrary, I was actually having a good time. I was learning how to shisha. I was, I thought, I thought the revolution stops in 2 days because in Korea, based on my experience, when we want to do demonstration against our government, you need to book a date and time, and you need to clean the trash before you leave. So, okay, they're doing demonstration, and I'm sure it'll be done in 2 days. I didn't expect it'll last like 1 year and 2 years. Anyhow, I had to leave when the internet was back on day 7th of the revolution. I got in touch with my mom, and it was not a smartphone era. It was just an internet phone era where I got hundreds of messages coming in. It was crazy. And my mom was like, "Are you crazy? Are you alive?" "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm having a good time." And then she was like, "The Korean government will send 3 airplanes, only 3 airplanes to evacuate the citizens." So I was like, "Okay, when is it?" "It's gonna be like in 2 days. You must not miss that airplane, or else you're gonna be stuck in Egypt forever." I told her, "I don't mind. It's fun." And then, out of curiosity, I called Qatar Airways because I was flying with Qatar Airways, and I was like, "So, are you guys still coming back in 4 weeks? Because I still have 1 month to spend in Egypt." And they told me, "Ma'am, we are canceling the schedule for the next 2 years. So you need to sort it out. Good luck." And they hung up on me. So, okay, my mom was right. I need to take that airplane to go back to home. So I came back to home. And then the second turning point begins from this point. When I returned back to Korea, I was a student ambassador. I was still on full scholarship, representing 20,000 students in campus. My professors, they were telling me, "Min, your life is set in South Korea. You're gonna be the president of our department. You're going to get a job offer from Samsung Bio, LG Chemicals. All the big names are already waiting for you. So your life is set." And then I was thinking, okay, great, thank you so much. But when I returned from this revolution experience, all my classmates and my friends were saying, "Man, don't ever go to this type of dangerous place. Never." Instead of worrying about the people that I met, and I kind of got shocked that we're so spoiled as a Korean kids, and we don't really care about what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening to their life. because I saw a lot of poor kids on the street, barefoot in Egypt. And I really felt so horrible about that because we're living in the 21st century at the same time. While my friends are partying and clubbing in the bars, some kids in Egypt were begging on the street. So I really felt that I need to do something about it to educate my fellow young Korean community because if it's not me, I don't think nobody would care because I'm the one who was stuck there and experienced how beautiful and kind people were in Egypt, worrying about me. So this is where I started to do some research. Are there any university in the Middle East where I can actually transfer and study and learn their culture? Because I think that would be the best situation for me to actually learn and enjoy the experience rather than coming here as a, let's say, corporate employee where you wouldn't be able to build a friends. So I started to do some research. Are there any English speaking universities? Do we have time or? Yes. Okay. We will be done soon. Yeah. So I was really curious if there are any American universities in the Middle East where I could actually learn English also, so that I can become international and more of a global citizen, so that I can understand what revolution means. So I came across this article about Sheikh Kamoza and Qatar Foundation, which was so interesting to me because in my opinion back then, I thought the ladies here are suppressed and oppressed and they cannot do cool things and this type of misconception. When I read the article, this is it. She is the one. If the leader of this country, which I was not familiar back then, has such intention and innovative mindset, I want to be there. Qatar, I don't know where it is, but I want to be there. She's the one. So this is how I found more about universities available in Qatar Foundation, about their student loan, about their scholarship opportunity. And then this is how I decided to take a gap year from my Korean university to learn English from A to Z. I didn't know what's the difference between how are you, how have you been, how's everything. Everything was so confusing, but I had to come here so that I can become the bridge between Korea and the Arab nations. That was the goal. So moving forward, I took the gap year at the age of 20. I never heard of TOEFL, IELTS, ACT, SAT. So I had to actually sort that out. I removed my cell phone for a whole year. Nobody was able to contact me. I put myself in a cave and I was just memorizing everything. I don't know what it means, but I'm memorizing the whole thing. So somehow I miraculously got accepted to the Carnegie Mellon University in 2013. And I moved to Qatar in August 2013, where the actual journey begins. So this is like some of the photos from my university life in Carnegie Mellon. In the first year, I have zero memory except for studying and listening to recordings because, even in the same language, I think the topic would have been very challenging. But especially me, without having any English background, I found it very difficult to actually pass the classes. So I think in my first year, I was always just wearing like two different jeans and sweatpants. I eliminated my eager to be stylish because I need to first survive and graduate. So I would minimalize everything else just to focus on surviving and learning the English. First year, nobody wanted to be in my group project because obviously I was the dumb Korean girl who cannot speak English nor understand. But eventually, when I started to win some awards in the class, programming class, people started to line up. Wow, I want to do the final project with you because you got the coding award. I was like, now you're talking. So in my second year, I founded a student club called Dreamers Club, where I basically hosted this type of inspirational talk show so that I can generate a platform for youth to share their experiences and get motivation. So I did a lot of activities throughout the university. founding the club, being the best club president in the CNU. I did a lot of internships, a lot of freelance work. I was really, really enjoying my life in Qatar. And then I graduated in a year of 2017. I'm not sure why. Am I the bad luck that brings to the Arab nations? Because everywhere I go, there's a revolution, there's a blockade. I don't know what's going on. So the year that I graduated in 2017 May, I was so happy that I successfully graduated with the biggest claps on the graduation ceremony. I was so proud of myself, and I was celebrating in Korea for the summer. And I was supposed to come back to Qatar for my job that I got an offer. But after 1 month from graduation during the Ramadan, there was a blockade initiated by the neighborhood. So immediately I lost the job before I even got the contract. And then somehow the Qatar embassy knew about my story through some connections, and they reached out to me if I'm interested in working for Qatar embassy. And I was so patriotic back then. I was so mad at all the neighbor countries. So I said, yes, I'm a corporate person. I'm more of an entrepreneur. I don't think about myself as a diplomatic, government employee, but I'm gonna support you. So I joined. So I was there for about 1 year and 3 months. But right after my probation, I started to develop the Korean beauty concept called Pita Beauty. Because first of all, during my university, I was always asking my mom to send my Korean skincare through the parcel, which was very inconvenient. And every time I received the goods, all my Qatari friends would ask, Min, can you get something? I like what you're using. So I always thought that this could be a great potential idea for the future. And I guess the blockade really pushed me to take an action immediately, effectively. Because I really wanted to bring something that could be helpful for the community of Qatar. Because back then, some of my friends who had some illness couldn't get medicine from UAE, Saudi. There were some troubles. So anything that I could help for the Qatari community, I would have done, which was basically the beginning of the Pita Beauty. So in 2019, after a year and a half of staying in the Qatar embassy, I decided to move back to Qatar. And I was so excited to launch this business because it was more about sharing the Korean lifestyle rather than selling the goods. I wanted to share the ethos of the Korean wellness, why we have to take care of our skin. In Islam, health is so important. Skin is also a biggest organ that people don't really think it as an organ. So I really wanted to convey the messages through the Korean lifestyle, our ethos, and also utilizing my biological sciences background. So this is how we were running. We had a pop-up store, many workshops for the antioxidant, also skincare workshop to educate our clients and the potential clients. And then also in year 3, we wanted to elevate this brand to be more socially, environmentally conscious. Especially as a small startup founder, I felt like we have a lot that we can give back to the community. And I don't see that much, in any society, not just here. So I felt like since our brand is popping in the young generation, it was super trendy on social media, pink and cute. Let me use that to attract young people to participate this type of social and environmental activities. So one time we joined the beach cleanup with an NGO. We sponsored 200 sunscreens to the volunteers across the Qatar, and we collected all the plastics and garbages by the shore. And then to celebrate our 3rd-year anniversary, we planted 300 trees in the Hina Salma farm to basically show that we need to work hard to offset the carbon footprint. As a trading company, we generate the carbon dioxide, and we felt guilty that we are producing this type of things. So we wanted to encourage. So we had 30 influencers, each one of them planting their tree under their name, and then the remaining 270 trees were available to be sold on our website. So our clients, Pita Babes, could purchase at 15 reals under their name. We would give them a QR code to track their tree, blah, blah, blah. And then we also did one charity auction to raise funds to build a clinic in Ghana to aid underprivileged communities. So basically, that has been my story in 11 minutes. Unfortunately, I had to close down my business last year, so maybe it's a surprising news for you. But now I'm in also new adventures. And basically, the moral of this whole story that I wanted to share with you guys is that life is really full of unknowns and a lot of struggles and challenges, but it really depends on our perspective and our angle. So this is something that I really want you to always remember, that even though there is a big challenge in front of you, don't really be afraid. And I really encourage all of you to take the challenge and try to gain something out of it. It could be a failure, and that's okay. You know, it's normal to fail. Nobody will always succeed, as we know. So I want you to really, really enjoy the ride based on like following your gut feelings. When everyone says no, I got to hear no from thousands of people in Korea about moving to Qatar, but I made it. So it's up to you. So when everybody tells you no, but still you always have that courage and ability to make it happen. So thank you so much for having me today, and I hope this really helped. Thank you.